I've said it before, I don't like schedules. I don't even really love more of a structured routine. But normal, kind of a natural routine, or rhythm, I'm good with. But this year, as the school year has gone on, a more natural rhythm, or even a structured rhythm routine, is not working for us. So today I thought I would tell you about how we came to be to having more of a strict schedule and how I went about developing it, so that I can give you some tips to help you develop a schedule that's going to work for you. A real structured routine is just not something that I've ever loved, or a structure, more of a schedule. And it's worked well for our homeschool to just have kind of a natural, first we work on this for a little bit and then we move on, really kind of letting our natural work habits develop or kind of guide what we do. This year though, things were just not working. I felt like we were bleeding time a lot. Transitioning wasn't going well. I felt like I was hopping from one kid to another. And it was just, it was killing our days, and it was killing my soul, and I was frustrated. The kids were left frustrated. Now, this is still not a strict schedule, and for a lot of people it would still be way too fluid. But for us, it's giving us just enough structure that we aren't bleeding as much time, while also still leaving just enough flexibility that I don't feel smothered by it as well. Now, rather than giving you my schedule and telling you that this will work for you, I'm going to share today just kind of my tips or guidelines of how we developed it, because that way you can adapt it to make it fit for your family. If my schedule is not going to work for your family because it's based on our needs, I want to encourage you to take the way I developed it and apply it to your own homeschool and develop it the way it needs to work for your family. Now, in January, when I started to build this, I knew that if I just jumped right in and made a schedule for everybody and went with that, it was probably not going to work. As I talked about in my being consistent video that I just posted a week or two ago, start small when you're building consistency as far as developing that into a habit. That's what I knew I needed to do with this. So I started with Elizabeth, because I figured if I can get one child a little more squared away, then I can take what I learned from building her schedule and build the others, and hopefully they would develop into a schedule more quickly. Tip number 1 is to start with one child. Even if you have multiple children, and I know the tendency is to say, well, let's just get everybody going because we're all bleeding time and let's jump in. And that may work, but it can also lead to a lot of frustration, and if the schedule's not working, then for some people, like myself, it can feel like you might as well give it all up because none of it's working. So tip number 2 is just, after you've chosen which child you're going to start with, start filling in the things that are non-negotiables. As far as, do they have lessons at any time? Do they have any online classes or out-of-the-home classes? Get that down on your paper. And when I did it, I just had a blank piece of paper that I started with and started listing times in pencil. So once we laid all those things out, and then number 3, we started filling in the other things that are a little more set. When we start school, when we break for lunches, when we have when the end of our school day needs to be. I do have a pretty strict cutoff because I don't want school time, if we can avoid it, creeping into family time and relaxation time. So once you get those things down, then I started with subjects that I know how long she typically works, or things that happen at the same time each day. She always starts her day with Spanish. It used to always be math. It always starts with Spanish. And I knew that it takes her roughly 15 to 20 minutes a day. So we started with that, and then we filled in math next, because she goes to that after Spanish. So once we had those things in, as well as her online classes and that sort of thing, then I knew what the rest of the time that we had to work with. So Step number 4 was to make estimates for those things. Now, one of the things that we wanted to do was to leave flexibility with her language arts, because we kind of vary what's happening, and so I didn't want to have to keep changing the schedule. So what we did was create just a language arts block. And to figure out how much time that we needed for that, I sat down with Elizabeth and we talked about what she does for language arts, and then kind of roughly estimated how much time it takes to complete each of those things, again, depending on the day. And then I just made a block of 75 minutes for her to work on language arts. Now that gives us the flexibility that if she's behind on something, well, she can spend a little bit more time within her block working on whatever she's behind on, but it's still enough structure that she knows that this is the chunk of time that she needs to be working on that subject. And so then the last thing to plug in for us was history of science. So we got those plugged in. And then we had a pretty good working schedule. So step number 5 was to take this schedule, and for the next couple weeks, every day after school, we noted what was working and what wasn't. Was the timing working out okay? Did she need a little more? Did she need a little less for each subject? And we tweaked it. We noted it each day, and then at the end of the week, I tweaked it for the following week. And it took us about 3 weeks to get a good solid schedule down here. So once I completed hers, I was ready to do the rest of ours. And I knew that since hers was pretty well fine-tuned, that the rest of them should go as planned, with little tweaking. So for Ben's schedule, I knew which things, when we'd be out of the house and such. And then I know that he likes to get all of his independent work done before he works with me. So I knew to schedule our time I work together at the end of our morning. He likes to start with reading, so I plugged that in, and then his independent chunks, and he knows what to do with that. Most of it's language arts things, like Elizabeth's. And then I just kind of filled in the rest of it. And once I got his done, I was ready to start with Matthew's. Now I knew that since I do work with Ben at the end of the morning, I needed to get Matthew's done earlier in the morning. So I gave him a little bit of time to do independent work. He really likes that. And then I knew kind of where to schedule him after that. From that, then the part that was most important for me was to make my own, schedule. I needed to have a thing that I could look at quickly and say, okay, where am I supposed to be right now? So I scheduled a time that I'm available for Elizabeth, when I'm working with each boy, when I'm out of the house. And the time that I'm with Elizabeth, I also put on her schedule that this is when I'm available, because she has a bad habit of interrupting me. Even though we've worked on ways, she has things, she knows how to flag. We have little post-it note flags that she's supposed to flag it with, and anyway, it doesn't always happen. So I needed to put on her schedule, this is when I'm available to help you. Because that was definitely something that was causing timing issues. Because I would often, then when she would ask, I'd go and help her, and then that would cause a whole avalanche of issues. So, my schedule, and this just lives on my planner, so I'm always having it, in my eyesight, and it lets me know when I am supposed to be dealing with whom. And any of the free time that is not scheduled on here is either time that I can help anyone who needs it, or it's time that I work on the computer as far as like school planning goes, or I'm working on a blog entry or that kind of thing. So it also allows me a little bit of downtime, I guess you could say, in the midst of a day, which seems kind of crazy because I don't actually have a lot of downtime, but mentally, it's important for me to see that I have some unscheduled time. That's crazy, but it's something that I know about myself, that if I feel like I'm back to back everything without breathing room, then that's something then I'm more likely to not follow the schedule. So those are my tips for developing a homeschool schedule that's going to be the best one for your family and your family's needs. If you want to watch the video that I talked about as far as developing consistency in your family, you can click on the screen right now for that, as well as what worked and didn't work for our family, where I talk about schedules, using someone else's schedules. So, thanks for watching.